Texas, BYU, James Madison, Duke, Alabama, Miami. The ultimate college football playoff debate with the hosts of Crain Company from the Daily Wire. It is Will Cain Country, normally streaming live every Monday through Thursday at 12 o'clock Eastern Time at the Will Cain Country YouTube channel, the Will Cain Facebook page, the Fox News Facebook page, but always available, as is this edition of Cain on Sports, by following us on Apple or on Spotify. It is a happy Friday. It is Tinfoil Pat and Two-A-Days, Dan. Flannel Friday, as is the case throughout December with our friends from Buffalo Jackson. What's up, guys? You got your flannels on, looking good. A flannel and a visor. Interesting combo. Visor says, I'm ready for a pina colada. The flannel says, time to chop wood. Nice tinfoil.
I can only wear a visor because my head is too big and regular hats don't fit.
He's just too smart.
Yes. Big brain.
You got too big of a head to even wear a snapback hat? You can't extend the snapback to like 2 and put it on?
No, this is the only thing I could ever find that actually fit my head.
And then I'm going hoodie flannel because it's like 10 degrees in New York City, and this Buffalo Jackson flannel is fantastic for the cold. So I love it.
By the way, and the one you're rocking might be my favorite. I like the look of that.
I
hope
one.
I have that in
It's
my
the
goodie
best.
bag from Buffalo Jackson.
Yeah.
That might be my favorite
My
one.
wife tried to steal this one. I said, no. It's for rugged men. This is not for you. You cannot have this one.
It's like red with like a faint greenish gray flannel pattern or something like that. Is that what that is? Black, faded black. That's nice.
Yeah,
I
it's
like
faded.
that.
It has that faded look.
Pat's got the red and blue.
Gail Borland
Gray,
special.
blue, and red.
Yours is tucked in.
Mine is tucked in. What do you mean by that? What's wrong with tucking it in?
You know,
I don't
nothing.
always tuck it in, but
But it's a choice.
Yeah.
It's a Texas thing.
yeah. Well, okay.
You got to show off your cool belt
Well,
buckles.
okay,
and
I'm wearing boots and jeans today. I got the ostrich boots on, and I'm not big on the untucked shirt with the boots and jeans. At least an untucked long sleeve shirt.
It's like a
If I were
tuxedo for
wearing,
Texans.
You know, tennis shoes, I would be more, okay, I'm going to untuck my flannel. But it feels like, you're dressed up a little more when you put on leather shoes, a.k.a. boots, and that's when the shirt goes into the tuck. Do you never tuck, Dan?
Not a flannel. Flannel's usually tucked out for me. But, I'll tuck in if I go suit. Never in jeans. I've never tucked in a shirt in jeans. I'll tell you that.
Really?
Never. It's just
You're
not a
no
thing
two
we do.
tinfoil?
I'm sorry?
You don't tuck either?
I don't have a pair of jeans.
What? Are you wearing shorts? Are you wearing shorts with your flannel?
I only wear Dickies.
Oh, yeah. He's a punk guy. Forgot about that.
It's so wild to me that you don't tuck anything into jeans. I mean, like a nice, crisp Oxford.
No, that's a
boots and
Southern
jeans
thing.
Tucked in.
It's a Southern thing.
That's a good look.
No. We wear
That's what we're put together down here. I'm still fascinated by the giant heat on Patrick. So, if I were to buy you a fitted cap, Patrick, what are we talking here? I mean, 7 7/8? An 8? 8?
Definitely
8 1/4? What are we looking at?
Probably close. Probably an 8. I don't know. Do they make more than 8?
Not for regular humans.
Yeah, I don't know. Probably 8
I don't know. Maybe at the big and tall.
if I'm lucky.
Mars, maybe. They make
And God help me if I grow my hair out at all. It's game over.
Next week, Dan, we'll meet Patrick in person for the
cannot
first
wait.
time at the Will Cain Show and Will Cain Country Christmas Party. So I'm expecting, from Game of Thrones, the Mountain to walk in. 6'5", 8.5 foot size head. I mean, known the guy now for 3 years, never met him in person, but self-described giant tinfoil Pat.
I've never said I was that tall, but my head is that big.
I don't know. Proportions, man. What do you got, size 18 shoes?
No, I think 12.
Yeah, what's your foot size?
Just 12.
You're a 12? Jeez. This is an interesting picture that's being painted. I can't wait to see in person, to post this on social media. We've got the host of Crain Company from the Daily Wire coming up today with what will be an absolutely awesome conversation on the college football debate. We're going to talk about who should be in, who should be out, what happens in maximum chaos. Maximum chaos. Alabama loses the SEC championship game, becomes a 3-loss team. Duke beats Virginia, wins the ACC. James Madison wins their conference championship game. And the winner of North Texas, Tulane. Now you're talking about 2 group of 5, no ACC. It's incredible chaos. We're going to go through maximum chaos here before championship weekend with the host of Crain Company. But I wanted to ask 2-a-days, Dan and Tinfoil Pat, all decked out in their Buffalo Jackson flannels, this debate. Last night, the Dallas Cowboys lost to the Detroit Lions. They just chased the whole game. They chased the whole game. The Lions put up 44 points. It was tough, yeah. I mean, a lot of ways in which the Cowboys lost. I don't think the Lions had a drive over like 55 yards. Like, they had incredible field position the whole game. And their offense just not ran, because now the Cowboys can. Well, you say Jahmyr Gibbs, but the Cowboys controlled Jahmyr Gibbs. They totally controlled him on the ground.
He had more receiving yards than rushing yards, which is not usual for him.
Right. So the Cowboys did what they said they were going to do, which is reform their run defense. Unfortunately, now their pass defense is terrible. But the story of the game, to me, is George Pickens. So George Pickens, wide receiver, that has looked like the best move of the offseason for the Cowboys, sending a 3rd-round pick to the Steelers. He's been incredible. He's been Randy Moss-esque. He's not Randy Moss, but, tall, skinny, can grab the ball seemingly from any position.
Wiry.
And, I'll tell you, there was a legitimate debate that I've heard in Dallas, like, hey, should we pay George Pickens and consider trading CD Lamb? Like, especially with the drops that Lamb has had. It's not a big debate. I've just heard it discussed because there's a part of a conversation. What do you do with George Pickens? Do we pay him? Because he's only a 1-year guy. And the way he's been playing, you're talking $30 million a year. And the no-brainer answer for the whole season has been, yeah. I mean, CD and George Pickens together, that's awesome. And then last night happens. And last night looked like, I guess, the George Pickens from Pittsburgh. A guy that doesn't really run his routes very hard, doesn't snap off his routes, didn't reach out for an inside slant that resulted in a bounced interception for Dak. And I know I'm the ultimate Dak defender. He threw 2 picks last night. Neither of them were on him. Neither of them were on him.
I'll agree with that.
He literally hit the he incredibly under wild pressure. He got sacked 5 times, but he was getting hit every time. And yet still he was putting that ball on the money. On both those interceptions, hit the receivers like were the only place you could catch it. And then the bad body language. And you sort of wake up today and you go, do you tie yourself to George Pickens for 5 years at $30 million? And I've got to be honest with you right now. I don't know. I'm leaning towards still yes and hoping for the best. But that could be a massive headache, a year into the deal. What do you guys think?
It's like he showed his true colors a little bit. You're so right. It was that snap that just changed. I mean, dude, after last week, I would have said, absolutely, sign him up. But you're right. I mean, you also got CD Lamb there. You don't really have anyone on the other side of the ball, other side of the field.
No. I like this guy that's emerging, Ryan Flanoy, for the record. I think that's going to be a name that continues to emerge. So they do have either, whatever we want to call him, a 3rd or 2nd receiver.
Yeah. Jake Ferguson's, always a viable option for Dak.
I mean, I'm very unhappy with him right now. He's probably cost me 2 games.
I was pissed at Pickens because I have CD Lamb in fantasy.
Well, I have Pickens in fantasy.
It was
number 1 in the Will Cain Ruthless Country League, and he might have cost me against Smug this week. So I'm not very happy. I would have traded his butt.
But no, I don't think you sign him for that.
No, you don't pay him, Dan. Do you pay him, Patrick?
Not right now, no. I'm very upset.
Nope.
I understand how Jerry Jones
I'm
feels.
not caring about your fantasy team. I don't care about your fantasy
The
team.
real
Jerry
team.
Jones are both owners of George Pickens.
Nobody cares. That sounds racist.
I can understand. what Jerry Jones is going through. I would not pay him.
I want no part of this.
You're going to have to learn that breaking news. Nobody cares about your fantasy team. All right, guys, looking good in your Buffalo Jackson. Check them out at buffalojackson.com. All right, now, what an awesome conversation. We'll totally break down every aspect of college football. I'll ask these guys as well about George Pickens. Let me introduce the hosts of Crain Company, Jake Crain, Blaine Crain, and David Cohn. Hosts of Crain Company join us now on Will Cain Country. Fellas, what's up? Let's just get into it. We won't waste any time. Is there really no one sitting on that set? Is there not one amongst you, not one of you three, that believes Texas should be in the college football playoff?
Well, Will, I think Texas should be in the college football playoff.
Look, I think circumstantially, it's sitting here right now. To me, it's a harder sell. I agree with the committee moving Texas ahead of Vanderbilt. I've always said if it's within one game and there's a head-to-head and the strength of schedule is remotely close, and in this case, Texas's strength of schedule is better than Vanderbilt. If it were to come down to a 9-3 Vandy, or excuse me, a 9-3 Texas and a 10-2 Vandy, I would have no problem with Texas getting that last spot. The problem is, I don't think it's going to come down between those two. And that's not saying that Texas, when they play well, if they play like they played against Texas A&M, isn't a top 12 team in the country. But it's just so hard, especially in a year like this, when you look at 2 undefeateds, the amount of 11-1s, the amount of 10-2s that are also playing in the conference championship game, that a 9-win team that's not going to win a conference that automatically gets you a bid to get in. If I'm Texas, I'm never scheduling anybody good in the non-conference again, though. I can promise you that.
Well, I mean, that's a problem that's going around all of college football where we're talking about scheduling in the non-conference. The problem for me, though, Will, is that not only does Texas have the 3 losses, but also in a lot of the wins, you don't look great either. And you can just say like, oh, well, you still won the football game. But then if that's all it comes down to is wins and losses, then you also have the 3 losses. Not like an undefeated team who maybe didn't look good when Kentucky takes you to overtime or Mississippi State takes you to overtime. Then obviously the Florida loss really just did them in. So they can pound their chests about going on the road to Columbus in week 1, which was an awesome football game. You played great competition. But then you also have a loss to Florida and really got drummed on the road at Georgia. Like, at the end of the day, that's what's keeping you out.
That Florida loss just kills you. It just kills you. And I agree with Jake. I mean, there's no reason to schedule anybody out of conference that's worth anything. I'm going to go play Charlotte, and they can have as much money as they want, and we can go on it from there. But I will say this, maybe not in our eyes, but in the committee's eyes, right? What do they harp on? Eye test, right? And down the stretch, Texas has looked like one of the best teams in the country. You go beat Oklahoma, you beat Texas A&M, and trust me, if it's about ratings, if it's about getting eyes to TV, Texas is one of the biggest brands in the country. And who do you have playing at quarterback? You have Arch Manning. Do I think they deserve to make the playoffs? No. Would I be surprised if somehow they did? No.
Well, Will, this is what I want to kick back to you then on the point that they're making about not scheduling any tough teams in the non-conference again. One, teams shouldn't be allowed to make their own schedules. The Dallas Cowboys just can't say, you know what, we're going to play the Jets 16 times this year, right? Like, your schedule needs to be delivered to you. Second of all, Texas versus Ohio State in week 1 was must-watch television. You're going to tell me that Texas wants to trade that in so that they can play Charlotte? Like, that is a huge game that's good for your team and your program and for the sport. So I just don't understand this idea that you just don't want to play any more stiff competition, because if everyone does that, now all of a sudden there's 10-2 Notre Dame, 10-2 Miami, or 11-1 team that also scheduled weaker competition. You're going to run into the same problem, but just with better record.
Okay, I'm going to acknowledge at the outset that I am a hypocrite, that last year I did not believe 9-3 Alabama should be in the playoff, but I am going to argue now that 9-3 Texas should be in the playoff. Now, I will say at the outset, I don't consider this a great injustice. If Texas misses the playoff, and they will miss the playoff, I don't think this thing is in doubt any longer. The debate seems to be settled. By coming in at number 13, there's no real path to the playoff for Texas or for Vanderbilt at 14. But I don't consider that a great injustice. Still, when we do this thing that we do in college football, which is part of the fun, let's all acknowledge this argument is part of the fun. When we do this legalistic argument, strength of record, strength of schedule, head-to-head, all really amounts to naught. It's all contradictory. It never makes any sense, and the debate will be endless. It's already been endless on the Will Cain Country this week. I've set out to do 2 10-minute segments, and they've been 2 30-minute segments with 10 full and 2-a-days Dan. Still, when you do the legalistic argument, you do come back, I think, with a very, very strong argument for Texas. The wins and losses thing, both Crain brothers brought up wins and losses. Here's the thing. I don't think either of you guys think that Troy should be in the playoff over Texas. I don't think you think James Madison should be in the playoff over Texas. You probably don't think Tulane should be in the playoff over Texas. So it's not simply win-loss. We talk about who you played, who you beat. Then we play the game of what's more important, wins or losses. And right now, I think what everybody's doing is punishing Texas. Yes, for Ohio State. I agree with you. This has totally disincentivized the idea of scheduling tough opponents. But penalizing Texas mostly for losing to Florida. And I think that was Blaine. You invoked the Florida loss. Fine, okay. But is that how we do things? Do we look at your worst moments? Do we look at your losses? Or do we look at your best moments? And nobody had better moments. I hear you on Kentucky, Mississippi State. I'm going to land this plane and tie it all together with a ribbon. But nobody else in the country had 3 at the time top 10 victories, 3 now top 15 victories in the country. Nobody else has that. And then finally, what we realize is when we do this BS legalistic argument and everything contradicts each other, we can't get to an answer that makes sense, certainly not one that makes sense and we all agree on. So I think it was Blaine that said, ultimately, it's the eye test. And that's right. Like, I think we all need to take Xanax and realize that these dudes get in a room and feel it out. That's what they do. They feel it out, and they like who they like, and they don't like who they don't like. And they use the eye test. And my final argument would be, but Texas passes that eye test. I can't argue against Mississippi State and Kentucky, but I can argue that over the last month, Texas has looked like one of the 12 best teams in the country, largely because Arch Manning looks like a different quarterback, and the offensive line has gotten better. But Arch looks like a different dude than he did against Florida. And it really started against, I believe, Mississippi State, carried over into the Georgia game. I don't care what box score readers may believe. Arch was actually really, really, really good against Georgia and continued in through all those victories. And so you come back to feel it out eye test. I think there's a good argument that Texas is one of, right now, the 12 best teams in the country. I think they're better than Miami. I think they're better than Notre Dame. I think they're better than Oklahoma. And I don't know if they're better than Alabama, but that safely puts you in the 8, 9, 10 range and definitely one of the top 12.
Well, and Will, to me, I agree with about half of what you said in there. And the part that I think is the most nail hit on the head is the contradictory nature of this. It's contradictory because they make it contradictory. It's contradictory because they'll put Oklahoma in front of Alabama that beat Oklahoma, but yet they won't put Miami in front of Notre Dame, who beat Notre Dame.
Right.
There's a lack of consistency at what should be the highest pillars. The fact that we put strength of schedule above head-to-head when you look at principles is nuts to me. It's nuts to me.
Right.
Head is a gift. Miami playing Notre Dame is a gift to the committee. It should actually make it easier. You're not having to go find ways to say, well, they ran the ball better down the stretch. But probably the part that I disagree with the most of what you said is, in the last month, Texas has looked like, well, then why don't we just play 1 month? Mm-hmm. Why do we even play these other games? Say the same thing with Miami and Notre Dame. Why would Miami go play Notre Dame ever again now if they get left out after having beat them and have an equal record at the end of the day? Eye test, to me, should be when all the other variables don't match up, and that's the last thing you have to go on. Well, that's when scoring margin and scoring differential comes into it. Who's looked good lately? See, we really don't have this problem in basketball because you know the formula that gets the team in. So they know the formula that gets them in so they can operate. We say we have rules. We don't have rules. We did a whole show breaking down the bubble and reacting to the rankings. And in the clauses, Will, they've added this after they left an undefeated Florida State out because Jordan Travis got hurt. They say also that last clause, what did it say? It can change if you have a player injury or head coach leaving that affects the regular season or postseason. Y'all kept Florida State out of the playoff. Lane Kiffin just left Ole Miss high and dry before the playoff starts, and Ole Miss went up in the poll. It's like the time that on the campaign where the vice president shot the guy and went up in the poll. So you don't even follow your own rules. And the last and probably the most egregious thing, if you're going to go in the room and feel it out, if you're going to go in the room and go on eye test, how about you have people in there that eyes work? How about you don't have Hunter Yurachek, who Arkansas hopes never comes back, be the head of the committee and go out there and tell me about Alabama's run game and stuff like that? If we're going to go off feel, Let's put some people in there with instinct and feel, not people that are tied to universities and are getting paid by institutions. It's the reason North Carolina made the NCAA basketball tournament.
Well, yeah, with Bubba Cunningham, but specifically on Texas. Texas passes the eye test if you only watch them beat Oklahoma and Texas A&M. Two incredible victories, right? Like awesome wins, but I think this sport has a serious recency bias where, the committee will just look at Texas's awesome win over Texas A&M there in Austin, but somehow they got neuralized from Men in Black about Miami beating Notre Dame in week 1 of the season. And to Will's point about, well, no one cares about the win-losses when it comes to Tulane or James Madison or the group of 5 teams. I think Will brings up an important point, but those teams aren't in consideration for the college football playoff because they have better records. They're in because there is a criteria to include a group of 5 team in a mandatory way, which, I mean, we've been going off about.
Yeah, a group of 5 should have their own playoffs. So, I mean, I'll say.
Well, no. See, that's wrong.
I don't think so.
Because I watched
a group of 5 teams should not be
I
in
watched a
college
group of
football.
5 Cincinnati team make a 14 playoff. I watched Boise State get a bye last year as a top 4 seed. If Duke beats Virginia and James Madison beats Troy, we're going to have 2 group of 5 teams in a 12-team playoff. And it's not to your point about them having their own playoff. I'm sick of hearing them crying about having to automatically have a spot. How many times?
Well, why can't we have both of these? This is what I was explaining to my brother a week ago. Will, I'd like for you to weigh in. Why can't we have a G5 playoff, right? Just like we have different classifications of state championships in high school. You have a 1A state championship, you have a 5A state championship based off population. Why couldn't we have a group of 5 playoff, but then if a G5 team is ranked high enough to make the 12-team national playoff,
Yeah, I agree
they
with
could
that.
forego that playoff.
Okay, so I want to start with what I agree with wholeheartedly. The nonsensical nature of this is maybe best illustrated by Texas, but it is best illustrated by the fact that Notre Dame is over Miami. The head-to-head should be the ultimate decider in any of these rankings, and that, to me, Notre Dame over Miami just is the best illustration of the absurdity. Me bringing up the group of 5 teams was really a rhetorical point to point out win-loss records aren't the end-all, be-all. And I understand how intoxicating win-loss records are. You just simply scribble down, well, you have 3 losses and this team has 2 losses. Therefore, the 2-loss team should be ahead of the 3-loss team. And I think that logic fails pretty quickly when you start throwing in the group of 5. Now, to the group of 5, I don't mind the group of 5 in the playoff. I don't mind the mandatory bid. And here's why. And this is why I don't think it's a great injustice to Texas. It's because we're really debating 11 versus 12. And the price of getting it wrong is fairly low. And the 4 of us will illustrate this in just a moment. So the price of, in this case, it will probably be Texas, may ultimately, to your point, but also being Miami, left out of the playoff for a James Madison and, I don't know, a North Texas. We'll talk about the group of 5 more in a minute. It's fairly low. I don't think it's a massive injustice for Texas to have been left out. I just think it's totally illogical. In what I get in paying that price of getting the group of 5 in is some semblance of meritocracy, some semblance of the potential for a Cinderella. I like the idea that a Boise State, that a North Texas, that a Tulane really actually could go on a run and win the national championship, no matter how improbable. So I don't mind it. And by the way, if we expand, which I think we should, to 16 teams, the price goes even lower. It's like, if we're really having a big debate about 15, 16, and 17, we have to recognize at some point it's not that big a deal, dude. And so I don't mind it. I will say on the group of 5, you guys know more about college football than I do. What does happen here? I mean, we're banding about a lot of names. I have the championship games here in front of me, just on the group of 5 front, okay? You've got, hold on, I've got it right here in front of me. You've got North Texas versus Tulane in the AAC. You got Boise State, UNLV in the Mountain West, and you've got Troy at James Madison in the Sun Belt. Those seem to be the 3 that matter. Who gets into the playoff?
Well, it's a lot depends. Look, the winner of the American, North Texas and Tulane, if you look at the college football playoff rankings, they're going to get in. They're going to get a spot. What happens next is if Duke beats Virginia in the ACC title. Remember, Duke's what, 7-5?
Yes.
If Duke beats Virginia and James Madison beats Troy, James Madison will go and Duke will not. because the rule is it's the 5 highest ranked conference champions, not the 5 highest ranked conferences. So in that situation,
Real quick,
Duke,
in that scenario, that does totally push the ACC out of the playoff, right? Because Miami would be your
doesn't
highest ranked
make it,
ACC
What if
team.
Miami gets an at-large bid? Then?
but Miami could get in at large bit. The
But
funniest part about
but
this
right
is,
now, I don't think Miami gets it. Sitting right now at 12, they'd be the first team to get pushed out. They're not playing this weekend. Why would they go up? So you have to
And
presume
that's-
that Miami and Texas are stuck. They can't move up when you don't play.
See, you say that though. The
Will,
committee might
here's
flip.
the thing, though. BYU is sandwiched in between Miami and Notre Dame right now. Regardless of what happens this weekend, BYU will move. If they beat Texas Tech, they will move up. If they lose to Texas Tech, they will move, which we can get to BYU at another time. I think you want to talk about injustice. But that will put Miami and Notre Dame right next to each other. The worst case scenario for what the committee wanted to happen. They didn't want to have this problem. So now you do have a chance to flip Miami over Notre Dame in this last reveal. That's probably the biggest question we're going to have if it works out like that. But the group of 5 point, Will, I want to ask you this because, again, you covering as many things as you cover broadens your perspective and allows me to ask this question. What is the difference between a DEI hire in the workplace and the group of 5 getting an automatic spot in the playoff? Is that just not college football's postseason seasons of DEI?
I'll tell you, no, I don't think it is. I don't think it is at all. So I think it was David that said, why don't we have a group of 5 playoff and then a power 4 playoff? And because at some point, look, we can all acknowledge reality. And the reality is that the power 4 teams are on whole and average better than the group of 5 teams. But we also all know that there are upsets almost every year of power 5 teams by teams outside of the power 4. So I don't consider that DEI. I consider that anti-elitism. I consider that you don't to just say we don't belong. We get a chance to prove that we belong. It's not DEI, it's meritocracy.
Well, again,
I
but
mean,
again, meritocracy to me is the top 12 teams get in because
Yeah,
these group of 5 teams schedule power 4 teams. Look at USF.
But
Look at who
real
USF
quick,
played.
but to that point, we've already acknowledged that the committee is a group of soothsayers at the top of the mountain that Leonidas goes to see before he fights the Persians. And a virgin and a bunch of dope. And they sit up there and get high and tell you who is the best 12 teams in the country. We've already acknowledged they feel it out. So if they're going to feel it out and say James Madison's just not as good as Miami, we have to understand that's not meritocracy, that's elitism.
Okay, let me jump in here real quick because I want to frame this through 2 things because your listeners might not be aware. One, I was on a Michigan team that lost to Appalachian State. That hurts. I've seen this firsthand where David can upset Goliath and it has massive implications. And look, like Tulane beat Duke this year. Tulane's on a better football trajectory. It doesn't matter if you put a G5 or a Power 5 by their name, whatever. And the second thing is I come from Statesboro, Georgia, where Georgia Southern University is. I watched Irk Russell and Paul Johnson win national champions there, but they were winning national championships in 1AA. We didn't think anything less of the 1AA championship they were winning just because they went to Athens every other year and they lost to Georgia. This gets back to my high school analogy. We won the Class 4A state title in Georgia in 2005. We didn't win the 5A state title, and we didn't care because it was based off population. Why don't we do something in college football where it's based on the amount of revenue and money that you're spending on your roster? Teams that have $40 million a year to spend, like Texas, shouldn't be fighting for the same national championship against North Texas. They should have a different championship, and we don't think anything less of that just because in one
really
specific game, North Texas could go and beat Texas. That underdog scenario in that doesn't change the fact that we're doing it wrong.
Yeah, good point.
No, that's really interesting, David. When you put it that way, it's not elitism. It's just it's logic. And it also, by the way, I'd want to hear what they want. The group of 5 schools, if they're good with it, like you just described.
They're not.
Look, I
They're
kind of
half
keep
and
up.
half, Will. I'm telling you, they're half and half. The coaches are half and half. We've interviewed them, but half of them, it's like an ego thing, right? Like half of them, are like I can sit here and coach and win it, and the other half's like, look, we're not. And a lot of it's the older coaches that are like, look, we could have our own playoff. Like I think it's an ego thing, but again, we could have both. I think. This is why I don't understand why we don't use the top 25 ranking for the Power 4 and a top 25 group of 5 ranking, and whoever finishes number 1 in the group of 5 gets an opportunity, if we're going to mandate somebody getting an opportunity, how about that number 1 overall team in the group of 5 gets that opportunity to play in the playoff?
Well, okay.
And everybody else gets to play in their playoff.
When David first started laying out his vision of comparing it to high school football, my mind first went to population. Because in Texas, in high school football, and by the way, different states do this different ways. California doesn't do it the way I'm about to describe. It's done in Texas. But it's largely done by your student body. How big is the student body? Because that's your population of players you get to pull from to put a team together on the field. California does it sort of like you can win your way up and down the classification brackets, I believe. I don't know how you do it in Georgia. But let's just stick with David's scenario for a moment. We're going to do it according to revenue. I'm just curious as we're sitting here talking. I wonder, what is the lowest Power 4 program in terms of revenue, and what is the highest group of 5 program in terms of revenue? I wonder how close it gets. Would it be something like a Northwestern or a Vanderbilt?
And then you have
Vanderbilt's going to
academic
get
standards
SEC
to
money.
consider with Northwestern too.
Well, I mean, I could probably tell you the group
Wake
of
Forest?
5 that has the most money. Yeah, like to me, Memphis should be Power 4 and Wake Forest should be group of 5. To me, if we're going to look at it, because look at the money FedEx just gave Memphis.
Yeah.
Like there's some group of 5s that we always talk about this, Will, when this Super League's going to happen. Where is the line of who gets called up and who gets sent down? Like to me, Boise State should be
Right.
called up to the big boys. The Boston Colleges maybe, or the Wake Forests, or some of these quote-unquote Power 14. Why do you think nobody took Oregon State, right? Why do you think nobody took Washington State? And I got a ton of respect for both of those programs. I've watched them have success. I would rather have Memphis. I would rather have Boise. So where's the line of who would get called up and who would get sent down? To me, that's a fascinating question. Like, where's Rutgers in this? Like, where does Rutgers fit in, right? Like, schools like that, as compared to, I just watched Michigan State get a $401 million donation
That's not
today.
good. I don't
From
like
So
some
what is that? What is
athletic
it like
department.
soccer where teams drop in?
The relegation. That's what I was
relegation
just saying.
system, right? That's what you want in college football?
Well, I
But
don't,
we
I don't
hate
really watch
that.
Major League
See, that's the
Soccer.
thing about America. Really, really quickly on soccer, we hate that. And this goes back to the meritocracy conversation. And we are, as Americans, going to change the world of soccer, for example. What I mean by that is everybody in America hates the idea of promotion and relegation. And when I say everybody, I mean every owner and every university president. Because once you get into the top, you want to stay in the top because that's where the money is. In the English Premier League, if you're in the Premier League, you get massive revenues from television. If you get relegated down to simply the second division, your revenue plummets because of the loss of television revenue. And so what do? They talk about, in soccer, they talk about a super league, a European soccer league. Let's take the top 4 teams from Italy and France and England, and let's create a super league, and there'll be no promotion relegation, and we'll all get rich. And so that's what we're dealing with in America, not meritocracy. We'll never have promotion relegation. We have elitism and corporatism.
Yeah,
It's unfortunate because college football is one of the few sports that could pull that off right now.
Well, but that's why I think, and I'll say this till I love football is my favorite sport. I will not argue that. But that's why, to me, the best postseason sporting event on the planet is March Madness. Now, I understand basketball and football are different sports. You can get away with things in basketball that you can in football because it's 5-on-5, and an individual can win a basketball game. An individual cannot win a football game. But to me, it's being able to marry up that amazing Cinderella story that we've been talking about, while also understanding whether you like it or not, this is a business. That's what it's just like whether you like it or not, college is a business. It's built to make money. In reality, a lot of churches operate as businesses that create a lot of money, but college football is a billion-dollar industry, and just like anything, they want to make the most money. You make the most money by getting the most views. That's why when you look at these TV contracts, that's what's ruining the day right now. That's who's dominating college football.
Yeah.
If you're not on ESPN or Fox,
the best example?
you're cooked, buddy.
You know the best example, Jake? I have to give him credit. He makes this point he has for years, is Colin Cowherd has said, look, we all sit here and talking about the NCAA tournament and basketball, that we love the Cinderella stories, but we don't. We don't.
Mm-hmm.
We don't love it when who's a great Cinderella story? Gonzaga in the beginning and whoever else made
George
the Final Four.
Mason.
And you know how we know George Mason. You know how we know we don't love that story? Ratings. The ratings plummet when the Cinderella makes it basically past the Sweet 16. And we want to see Duke, North Carolina. That's what we want every year. We want to see Cowboys, Chiefs. Even though they were two 500 teams on Thanksgiving Day, 57 million people watched Cowboys versus Chiefs. Highest rated regular season game, I believe, in history. Because we want brands, we want recognizability. We don't want Cinderella.
Yeah. Well, that's why I call it the Santa Claus theory. A lot of fans of college athletics don't realize it's a business. They still believe in Santa Claus. They still believe it's all purity and it's all about the players and it's all about the communities and just giving back to the people. No, it's not. It's about making money. The town that I was born and raised in Auburn, survives off of the football team and home games. It survives off the athletic department. That's what brings in pretty much all the businesses, pretty much all the revenue. But a lot of fans still think that, hey, guess what? Santa's somehow going to come to your house and come down that chimney, and he's going to put all those presents there. It's not Santa. Turns out it's really just your parents.
Imagine hating on Santa.
I'm sorry. Yeah, look. I'm sorry if I just spoiled
3 weeks away, Jay.
I'm sorry if I spoiler alerted this.
God, I don't know how many kids are listening. I'm gonna have to put a warning on this show.
Yeah,
It's-
I'm on
it's
the naughty
Christmas
list, so I'm
season,
kind of
and I've got
with
kids
Santa right
listening.
now.
My goodness.
By
In
the way, speaking
December
of kids,
all
my my son visited Auburn this weekend, went to the Iron Bowl, has been accepted
think?
to Auburn. It's high on the list, Jake. Oh, he loved it. He loved it.
let's
It's
get him up
gonna
to
be
Ann
hard to
Arbor.
pull the boy out of
No,
Texas.
No, yeah.
Look,
Let's get him up to Ann Arbor.
Well, it's called God's country for a reason.
well, no, it's the dude from The Walking Dead went there. You can maybe see him.
Auburn, I've told you guys this, is very popular right now in the state of Texas. I'm talking about from high school kids choosing where they want to go to college. Auburn is really, really
Y'all
on the
got
rise
y'all
in a
got
way
the
that
offensive
it
lineman?
isn't the case. Which, by the way, which I just think is fascinating, which isn't the case necessarily with Alabama. You know, I don't know what it is or why, but Auburn has become a popular school of choice much more so than Alabama. I want to do a little bit more college football because I hinted at this a moment ago. Okay, the price of the debate that we're having is really low, I think, because even though we're living in the age of parity, I don't think Texas can win 4 games in a row and win the national championship. I don't think Vandy can do that. I don't think Miami can do that. I don't think this is going to be probably where we all diverge. I don't think Notre Dame can do that. The question is, how many can actually? In the past, I think you guys would all agree, we probably lived in a world with what? 3 teams,
Yeah,
maybe
4 every
but
now and then.
probably really 2 that could win the national championship every year. How many? I don't know if we need to go step by. Let's do that. I did this with a tinfoil pat and 2-a-days Dan a little bit earlier. And we can go quickly, the 4 of us together. I'll name it. We give yays or nays, and if they can win the national championship, okay? We'll go quick. Number 1, Ohio State. Yes.
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 Okay, 2, Indiana. I think yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, 4. That's unanimous on Indiana, which, by the way, I watch ESPN. It's in Fox. It's not necessarily unanimous on Indiana. 3, Georgia.
Yes.
Yes.
All yeses. Yeah. All right, here we go. Texas Tech. I'm yes.
Yes.
I'll say yes.
Yes.
Yes, but Morton's got to
look
stay
at that.
healthy.
All right.
Well, Morton's got to stay healthy.
Yes.
I worry. In a 4-game stretch, if it was 1 game to win it all, like, yes. But you got to, I mean, Morton's basically Humpty Dumpty. He just always falls off the side of the fence or whatever.
5, Oregon. I'll go yes. It's getting close
Yes.
for me now, but I'll go yes.
I'll go yes.
Yes. I'll say yes.
Yes. Barely.
Okay. I'm just going to warn you guys. Now I'm out going forward. Pretty much,
Okay.
I'm done. I think those are your 5. I'm curious what we have left for you guys. Number 6, Ole Miss.
No.
No.
All right. We're unanimous on Ole Miss. Number 7, A&M.
Yes.
Yes.
What do you think, Blaine?
Yes. Barely. I don't trust their defense.
Oh, I'm the only one. I don't think A&M can win 4 games in a row and win the national championship. Number 8, Oklahoma.
No. Offense just ain't.
Yeah,
gonna
we're all
do it.
no. Yeah, Mateer's a problem. He's also a solution. This is what I said. He's a solution and a problem. And in 4
Yeah.
games, I can't see him being a solution all the time in a row. He will turn over the ball. They can't win 4 games with the way he plays football. Number 9, Alabama.
Yes.
Yes.
Really?
Nope.
It's a no. It's a yes for Georgia, but a no for Bama for you.
Yeah. I think
Bama-
Alabama's too one-dimensional. I don't think you can win 4 games with being one-dimensional with the teams that you're going to play, the balanced teams that you're going to play. No.
It's a fair point, but I'm going to say yes, they can do it. They probably won't for the reasons you said.
All right, so we got 2 no's and 2 yeses on Alabama. And Notre Dame, number 10.
No.
I'm going to say yes.
I'm going to
Say
say
yes.
I'm going to say yes.
Say no.
They could win the national championship.
Oh, interesting.
Notre Dame's defense, the way they've come along, is the difference.
Well, like the way they've come along against who?
Yeah.
Like
That's
come
a
along
fair
against
point,
who?
too.
Stanford and Syracuse? I'd go find 8 other guys at the Daily Wire right now, and we can hold Stanford under 30 points. And we'll run peanut butter and jelly, dog.
I mean,
Over, unders,
Now-
we'll blitz every night. It'll be Pro Bowl rules, and we'll hold them under 30.
Look, I'll
Syracuse's
still say-
quarterback is a baker. Like, or what was he? Like he just made bread or something? Or played the cross?
I
You watch
think-
that guy?
I think what you're saying is fair. I look at a team that I think could go on a run. They went to the national championship a year ago, and I think this team is better. I think they got the
I
Heisman
think the
Trophy
defense
winner
is
at running
better
back.
last year.
And, look, I think that Miami, the head-to-head victory over Miami, I don't care if it happened in week 1, should matter, and they should get in over Notre Dame if those are the 2 teams it comes down to for one more spot. I had a conversation with a Notre Dame fan yesterday. He said something interesting. The committee has alluded to the fact that the 2 teams haven't been close enough for Miami to jump Notre Dame. He said, I don't know if that language necessarily means close enough in the rankings or close enough in the way they're playing football, which I said, okay, that's interesting, but it really shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
And also look at Vegas right now. Miami plus 400 to make it, Notre Dame minus 400 to make it. I think Vegas would have some inside information. That part aside, if Notre Dame were to get in, right, if Notre Dame, and I don't like this argument from Notre Dame fans that, oh, that loss happened at the beginning of the year, like we should just forget that. No, this is a college football season, and you still did that. At the same time, I do see a young quarterback in C.J. Carr who was making his first road start at Miami, and he's gotten better every single week, and that offense and that team has gotten better every single week. And I don't know why you're giving Jeremiah Love the ball 10 times in that game. Remember, we did a live stream of it. We're like, what in the world is going on in this game schematically? Could they win the national championship? They look like a team that could do a lot of damage in the playoff at least.
Okay, is there anybody else that I have not mentioned? Is there anybody that believes Miami can go on a 4-game run? Is there anybody that believes in BYU should they make the playoff, or Texas? Is there anybody else that thinks I should throw another team into this mix?
No, I mean,
No.
BYU no for the same reason Oklahoma's no. I actually think Miami would have a better chance than Notre Dame because I think they're better up front on both sides of the ball. That's what I think. I think they have the line of scrimmage to be able to do it.
They are.
And with Carson Beck, and God, I mean, Malachi Toney, I get
He'll
talked
throw-
about enough. Go ahead.
You're counting Carson Beck as a pro? I'm discounting.
I mean, he's going to be a
Miami
know.
because of
I
Carson
mean,
Beck.
Quinn Ewers is technically a pro if we're going to go on that. Carson Beck's just a more Ice Age looking version of Quinn Ewers.
Are they as good are they good enough of a team to win it though? See, this is where
Miami?
there's an interesting distinction here. I think BYU is a really, really good football team. They're probably a better football team and play more together than the University of Miami. But Miami has better football players, and that makes up for a lot. And when you're in a 4-game stretch there trying to win a playoff, how much of that is going to rear its head? And again, to your point earlier, for the 10 years we had a 4-team playoff, there was never more than 3 teams that could win the national championship until that last iteration. And all of a sudden you had 3 Power 5 teams go undefeated. You had a 1-loss Alabama as the SEC champ, a 1-loss Texas as the Big 12 champ, who had the road win in Tuscaloosa over Alabama with the head-to-head. And the playoff committee got put in a spot. And you had a 1-loss Buckeyes team that just lost to Michigan. The playoff committee finally got put in a spot where they're like, thank goodness we're going to 12 because there's too many teams that could win the national championship. And what happened in the first iteration of the 12-team playoff? The Buckeyes, who lost to Michigan again, not only wouldn't have made a 14 playoff, they were barely hosting a game. They go on a 4-game win streak and win the
Because
Natty.
of talent. We knew they had the talent.
And by the way, to your point, David, so I'll just summarize what we did. We had 5 unanimous could win the national championships, 1 through 5.
Okay.
We all were on the same page. We all together discounted Ole Miss. We said no unanimously to Ole Miss. Then we together had 4 teams that we were, I don't know if we were evenly split 2-2. There might have been 1 in there, A&M. I can't remember. Blaine may have been the only guy who voted for A&M. But there was 4 teams that got at least 1 vote after that. So I don't know how you read that. Is it Do we average out the split votes? But that's 6 or 7 teams, we'll call it, that we all believe to some degree have a chance to win the national championship. That's pretty interesting. But it also tells me, okay, so Texas is out. Or even if it's Miami that's out, not that big a deal.
No, yeah, because again, it's almost hard to screw this up because like it's college football is so popular and there's so many big brands that are still in it. Again, it fascinates me. I'll never understand why in a sport that makes so much money, in a sport that is so important to us and that we love so much, when it comes down to the way the calendar is structured and the people we choose to make the biggest decision in that sport in the postseason, we have totally dropped the ball on this whole thing. But still, you look at the numbers and the views are through the roof. What is college football up 9% this season?
Oh, yeah.
10%? It's impossible. It's like screwing up a Victoria's Secret show. It's impossible to do.
They did that for a while.
Just make sure everybody gets to the runway and it's gonna hit.
Okay, 3 quick things together really quickly. So let's just play chaos for 1 minute. So chaos is BYU beats Texas Tech, Duke beats Virginia. Honestly, chaos is coming from the ACC no matter what, because the committee's going to have to decide if Virginia's good enough. I guess, so what we're looking at is at least 2 teams outside the top 12 will make the playoff. Those 2 teams will be one group of 5 and the ACC representative, right? Virginia, Duke. I'm talking about maximum chaos here now. I don't know if it matters that Duke. You guys explain to me if you think it matters whether or not Duke beats Virginia. And then it's BYU beating Texas Tech, because Texas Tech will stay in. BYU will be in. So maximum chaos does what? It pushes out, what, Notre Dame and Miami? Like, what is maximum chaos where most programs
Georgia,
are really upset?
Add Georgia beating Alabama to at least force the committee's hand on a 3-loss Alabama.
If you have, so the craziest thing that could happen in my opinion, and you listed some of it, Will, is Duke to beat Virginia, because one of North Texas and Tulane are going to make it out of the American. You can go ahead and pencil one of them in. We'll see who wins. The game's actually tonight. I can't wait for it. Take the over. Alabama were to lose to Georgia. Duke were to beat Virginia. And James Madison were to lose to Troy.
Yeah.
So who would be next? Do you know who would be the team that gets in right now when you look at it?
UNLV.
UNLV.
I'm still
in the Mountain
pounding my
West
chest for Navy.
Would end up, but UNLV has to beat Boise.
They have to win the conference.
Yeah, they have to win the
Which
conference.
Navy
Now look,
can't do.
Will, if Virginia beats Duke, I'm under the strong belief that an 11-2 ACC champion Virginia gets in. I think Virginia does get in. But if any of that stuff that we said just happens, it's not just Miami that could be in trouble, because if BYU beats Texas Tech, they're both going to be in. And the argument that Texas Tech is 6 spots ahead of BYU right now is asinine. It's asinine, and it makes absolutely no sense. But if BYU were to beat Texas Tech, Georgia were to beat Alabama, James Madison were to lose to Troy, Duke were to beat Virginia, we've got a massive situation on our hands.
Is Alabama, and to your point, I think David brought up, is Alabama in at that point, or is Alabama
I think they're
out?
in. I think they're in.
Probably, but to your point on what creates the most chaos, that creates chaos for the committee. I think what saves them at the end of the day, of course, just being the SEC championship game loser obviously means a lot, but you will have lost to a team that you beat in the regular season. I think that would bode well for Alabama at the end of the decision making.
I can't. That's so much chaos. I can't even wrap my head around exactly how that works out.
It's basically
But
a plot
it
to a
does
Batman
start
movie.
Friday night. All right, 2 quick topics here with you really quickly. I wrote it all down, and maybe for the audience's sake, I can just list it off really quickly. These are your top coaching hires so far this season. It's Lane Kiffin to LSU. It's Pete Golding to Ole Miss. It's John Summerall to Florida. James Franklin to Virginia Tech. Brian Hartline to South Florida. Interesting. Will Stein to Kentucky, Oregon offensive coordinator. If you look at this, there are others. Pat Fitzgerald to Michigan State. Bob Chesney to UCLA. Which one? I'll give you mine first, guys. Let's avoid, unless you really, really, really have a take that I want to hear on Lane Kiffin to LSU. Which one of these do you think we look back on in 5 years and go, damn, that was a good hire in that coaching cycle. Because I think my answer is Pete Golding at Ole Miss.
Ooh, wow.
Wow. Sneaky Pete.
Well, as soon as you bring that up, I'm kind of in the same boat as you. My best hire, I mean, outside of Lane Kiffin, give me John Summerall, to be honest. I mean, Florida needed structure. John Summerall has that edge about him. The closest thing to Saban from a process standpoint that you can really find. Defensive guy, absolutely detail-oriented, doesn't give a damn about anything other than his team and winning football games, and that's what Florida needed. And my second one, and a close one to be honest, is Will Stein from Kentucky. Kentucky, you want to talk about a gutter program? That's what Kentucky's been the last couple of years. You bring in a guy that knows how to do what? One, run an offense. Two, develop a quarterback. Bo Nix, Dylan Gabriel right now with the Browns.
I'm just say more.
Yeah, that true. Hell, well, what he's done even his freshman year, the games that he played in. I just think those two, and I like what you said, Pete Golden. Look, I know you lost Lane Kiffin, but I think Pete Golden's going to do well at Ole Miss. And hell, I wouldn't be surprised to watch Ole Miss win a couple of times.
Well, the Pete Golding thing, I think Ole Miss kind of had to do that because they're in a position that nobody else is in, and you want to keep continuity as much as possible. I think it's going to be similar to the Zach Arnett Mississippi State situation when Coach Leach passed away. I think even though he's the permanent head coach now, it's a 1 year you got to show me because they're not going to drop a bag on him. You can put some gold in the vault if
Jake,
it doesn't work
you
out.
You guys know this as well as I do. That dude has been a defensive coordinator that basically everybody's fought over for like, what is it, 5+ years? Alabama, Texas, Ole Miss. So we obviously know he can coach a defense. Ole Miss has been pulling transfers in, and mainly on the defensive side, I don't know if mainly, a lot on the defensive side, which says to me, it suggests, I don't know this for sure, but it suggests to me the guy can recruit. That's kind of interesting to me.
The reason that Ole Miss made the playoffs is because of Pete Golden. It's not because of Lane Kiffin. I've watched Lane Kiffin score 60 points a game and still find a way to lose. Pete Golden brought that defense to a playoff level.
And that's the difference between Lane Kiffin and Lincoln Riley. Lane figured it out. Lincoln still hasn't. To me, when I look at coaching hires, I look at which school got the best deal, not which coach. Like, wow, I'm shocked that he got the job. There is no way outside of what Penn State did and the craziness we had that Virginia Tech would ever get James Franklin. I think Virginia Tech hit an absolute grand slam on an 0-2 pitch that they were fooled on. That's what I think. I think the stars aligned. James Franklin, and we talked with TJ Pittenger, who covers Florida State yesterday. James Franklin wanted to wait on Florida State, but obviously Florida State wasn't moving on from Mike Norvell. So I thought Virginia Tech got the best deal. To me, the best combination outside of Lane and Ole Miss, to Blaine's point, is Summerall in Florida. Because at the end of the day, coaching is a personality. Attitude reflects leadership. And Florida hasn't had that dog in them in a while. It's been very ho-hum. And name any time that Florida ever had success when they didn't have a coach that had a little bit of arrogance and had that dog in them. Steve Spurrier and Urban Meyer. That's the two times that I've seen it. Everybody else that didn't work, John's got that in him.
So I agree with Jake here. Virginia Tech hiring James Franklin was the best hire this cycle because LSU landing the most sought-after coach in the cycle is not surprising. LSU is one of the best programs in the country. Virginia Tech really punched above their weight to be able to hire James Franklin, a coach who has done something that Lane Kiffin hasn't even done, which is he won his conference. He won the Big Ten championship game in 2016. But this is less about that and more about Virginia Tech just being able to punch above their weight and actually land a coach like that. I'll tell you the most underrated one that no one's talking about is Ryan Silverfield from Memphis going to Arkansas. And I heard that Arkansas students and fans were in Fayetteville protesting this hire. I'm not sure what you're protesting. It really can't get much worse. You're at the bottom barrel of the SEC. And here's a guy who beat you this year at Memphis, beat Arkansas. If that was the job interview, then I think you passed.
Passed, bud.
Well, here, let me ask you guys about a name in a program really quickly, because you guys know more than I do. The guy I'm a little surprised wasn't a hotter commodity is Brian Hartline from Ohio State, who ends up at South Florida. Like, every wide receiver in the nation from every state seems now to go to Ohio State, at least in part because of Brian Hartline. He's been doing this. Has he been calling plays? I think he has been calling plays, right? Ryan Day turned that over, isn't it, to him? Yeah, he's been calling plays for 2 years, 3 years now at Ohio State. I don't know his personality. That's what I don't know about. But here we are sitting here today, and Penn State doesn't have a head coach. That's a little surprising to me. Hartline's best job offer is South Florida, and Penn State's still open.
Yeah, it's Penn State was the first guy to buy a suit and the last guy to get a date to the prom. That really doesn't work out typically in that order. And look, we'll see what happens with Matt Campbell. If Matt Campbell ends up going to Penn State, I think Pat Kraft kind of saves face a little bit, but as this far, it's been an abject disaster. As far as Hartline goes, Will, it's very interesting because, again, Hartline hasn't really been coaching for that long. I mean, I remember him playing pretty decently recent. And I think some ADs at big places like Penn State need you to show them you can do it as the head coach if you've never been a head coach before, because it is a totally different job. It's like being the president and the vice president. They both have the word president in their name, but they're two totally different jobs. Is Brian Hartline going to be the play caller as a head coach when he goes to USF? But now you are responsible for everything, not just one side of the ball. That's why you look at the Will Muschamp theory. Some guys are amazing coordinators. They're not great head coaches. So I think USF is actually a perfect starting ground for Hartline, because it's not a low-level G5. You're not going to Rice. You're going to USF, who you can recruit there, you can win there. If he does well at USF, he'll be there for 2 years. He'll be there for 2 years. The ADs will see, okay, you understand this role, you can do this role. Now we're going to call you up to the big leagues. It's like drafting a player out of high school and sending him straight to AA because you think he's that good. You give me 150 good at bats, we'll move you up to AAA and then go ahead and bring you up to the bigs after a while.
Do y'all think just being the head coach at USF, real quickly, Will, is a better job than being offensive coordinator at Ohio State?
If you want to be a head coach.
Yeah.
If you want to be a head coach. I mean, like, Chip Kelly clearly got to a point at UCLA where he's like, you know what? Let me just go be a coordinator or win a national championship.
It's just what you want.
I think that's an interesting question, Blaine. And I think the answer is Jake's. I think he's right. Like, it is a prove-it job. It'll probably last 2 years. And in 2 years, if he does well at USF, it won't be Lane Kiffin level, but he'll be the Lane Kiffin of some cycle down the road.
Yeah.
He'll be everyone's number one target in 2 or 3 years. All right, last thing. You guys are my GM. I need the help, not only because I don't have a GM, because I think this is a really tough debate, especially after last night. The guys and I just debated this before we brought you guys into here, Will Cain Country. Okay, you're the GM of the Dallas Cowboys. Do you give $30 million a year over a long-term contract to George Pickens? 2 weeks ago, the unanimous answer would have been yes. And I don't know if you guys watched Thursday Night Football last night, but basically what you saw from George Pickens was the thing that everybody complained about in Pittsburgh. It was a bad performance from Pickens. It was not reaching to catch a ball on a slant that ends up in an interception. It was weak, lazy routes. It was horrible body language. And for the first time since he's been a Dallas Cowboy, I've been like, ugh. I mean, it was a no-brainer before last night. It was like, do I give this guy $30 million a year over 5 years?
Well, I actually have pretty decent inside knowledge of this. George went to Hoover, which is in Birmingham, followed his recruitment, know the type, his personality type. Go watch his draft video. It's pretty funny when he's standing in the living room with a mask on.
Shiesty.
Here's the way I look at it if I was the GM. You know what? I don't just pay for greatness. I don't pay top dollar for just greatness. I pay top dollar for consistent greatness. That's what I pay for it. And to me, at the end of the day, CeeDee Lamb's dropped some balls, right? But when I watch CeeDee Lamb, it's balls to the wall all the time. When I watch George Pickens, I don't think you can count on him. It's not like you just came in the league and you've got to learn in the locker room and eventually you'll get it. We've seen that happen before. I just don't think you can count on George Pickens to make that big of an investment in, because you get sprinkles of greatness, but if I'm going to pay you top dollar in a franchise that has been incredibly inconsistent when it's mattered the most, I'm not going to reward incredible inconsistency based on the thought of occasional greatness. And I think that's gotten the Cowboys in a lot of trouble in a lot of ways, to be honest with you. And I think if they did that with George, when you have CD, hell, I like Flournoy. I think Flournoy can play. I'm watching this dude go out and hustle and grind. Like, I would rather get two guys that are consistent, that may not have that ceiling, but I can pay $15 million a piece that'll go out there and play like some of those other guys do, and I don't have to worry about them buying a Batmobile and trying to take over the city in 6 months.
Think about it like this. How long did the Pittsburgh Steelers put up with Antonio Brown and his shenanigans?
Yeah.
Almost a decade. Enough to have 7,000-yard seasons, and yet George Pickens isn't.
Like,
in
dog, you're
Pittsburgh.
too nuts.
There's
You
a
gotta get outta
reason he's
here.
not in Pittsburgh.
It's not
You
even-
do not give this
That's
guy
a good
30
point.
I don't
million
even.
south.
I don't
didn't
even
think
care
about
if he had
that.
it. I don't even care if he had a great game. Last night's game. The Cowboys are so bad in the secondary, and they are so bad at both tackles position that if you want to waste $30 million on a receiver just to lose 41 to 55, then congratulations, that's fine. You're not going to win a Super Bowl when you can't stop the pass. You got Quentin Williams, obviously you're stopping the run better, and you can't protect your quarterback. You're paying Dak $20 million to get his ass kicked for 4 quarters and try to find a way to win. So no, do not pay $30 million to a diva receiver, even if it's receiver 1, when you can't cover anybody or block anybody.
And that's coming from a receiver.
Yeah, he's a receiver.
Hey, 3 points if I can remember them. I'm going to pull a Rick Perry here. How great was Dak? To your point, Blaine, like my man was delivering passes. To your point, getting blown up a microsecond later. A microsecond later, he was getting blown up last night over and over and over again. 2, luckily we have a lot of first-round draft picks coming up to pick an offensive tackle and some cornerbacks, thanks to the Micah Parsons trade. And number 3, David, I think you just solidified the debate for me. If the Steelers, who put up with Antonio Brown for a decade, said no to George Pickens, we might want to consider that. We might want to consider that. That's incredible.
It's perfect.
All right, you get more of that incredible stuff. You get more of that incredible stuff at Crain Company. David, Blaine, Jake, great to hang out with you for 45 minutes to an hour. Thank you guys so much.
Thanks, Will. Appreciate it, man.
Everybody, man.
Thank you.